All right, everybody. This is some wild, wild news. Holy crap. So, Legal Eagle has announced that he is suing the FBI and DOJ, Department of Justice. I have no idea what for. I have no idea what spurred this on. It might have something to do with Trump. It might have something to do with, like, I don't even know, mishandling. It might have to do with, like, mishandling of the investigations into Trump. Because they honestly should have borne out proper litigation and like sentencing years ago at this point. And now we have like a genuine danger to the country who has taken office. Maybe that's a valid reason to sue. I don't know why he would be suing the FBI and DOJ. I don't know, because he would presumably be suing this current one, but we'll find out. We'll find out. I have not watched this video. I have not been spoiled. I have been sent this, and I just found out about it right before stream. So I'm going into this as surprised as most of you guys are. Let's get into this shit. This has got to be crazy. What is going on, man?
This has been in the works for a while, but I can finally announce that I have sued the government
For a while.
Surprise, surprise.
to obtain all records related to the government's investigation of former President Donald Trump for retaining classified documents and trying to overturn the 2020 presidential election.
I was right. I've had the same. Okay, so the reason why I assumed that that's why he'd be suing is that the DOJ and FBI dragged their asses to like an unprecedented degree with Trump. Like there were so many points at which their incompetence failed to keep someone who tried to overturn our election and destroy our democracy from receiving proper justice. This is just a thing that is a fact. And meanwhile, Trump coasts on the idea that it was lawfare against him and it was unfair, all the while he actually had very valid reasons to be, like, investigated, and they did not go as hard as they should have. Because you gotta remember, everything that Trump and the Republicans in MAGA say, the opposite is true. When it's legal lawfare against them, the reality is they're being rightfully, pursued legally, and they're actually being treated with kid gloves. And that anyone else would be treated way harsher. They're getting special treatment. That is what's actually happening when they say they're being oppressed. So I just kind of had the intuition, I guess. Let's get into it.
Look, Donald Trump won the 2024 presidential election fair and square. We assume.
True.
And that means that the criminal cases against him are over, or at the very least are stalled indefinitely. So why would I do this now when special counsel Jack Smith is winding down both of his cases and Trump will return to power in January? Well, in the words of Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis, sunlight is said to be the best of disinfectants. In that vein, I, along with my co-counsel, believe that the American people have a right to know what the Department of Justice and the FBI discovered when they investigated Donald Trump. And so we filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia to challenge the DOJ's failure to process two FOIA requests for this historically important information. Now, the next chapter of the USA will be dominated by questions about the rule of law, secrecy, and government corruption.
I'm going to be honest, as much as I like this lawsuit and think it's valid because, like, fuck the FBI and DOJ for not, like, going hard on Trump like they would have anyone else in Trump's position, but at the same time, I hope you guys know that Americans are so stupid that even if every last bit of classified documentation of this entire investigation was out there, it doesn't matter how damning it is. It doesn't matter. They will not vote differently. Like, MAGA won't vote differently, and the American people are stupid, and they actively delight in running away from being educated or learning about things, especially, like, things that pertain to their ideology, things that could challenge their ideology. So I think it would have had the exact opposite effect if these things were out. I think Trump would have won by more votes if this info was out there because the media would have reported on it, and Trump would have used it to polarize Americans against the media and the establishment even more. The more that Trump was pursued legally, the higher people's approval ratings of him went up. Americans liked Trump more and approved of him at a higher rate after every single legal battle he fought, including when he was found guilty of 34 felonies, because Americans see him as an outsider, and this constant litigation feeds into this narrative he's played of they're going after them. They're oppressing him and trying to litigate against him because he's fighting for them, and this is the establishment who only fights for themselves, and he's the outsider.
We just witnessed Trump's Attorney General nominee go down in flames because of an ethics investigation involving his sexual activity with underage girls. Unfortunately, we can't access those records because Congress is exempt from...
Remember, Gates and Trump aren't the same person, okay? Not the same person. Vance and Trump aren't the same person. Anything that... All these things that would destroy Vance, Gates, any of these people, MTG even, would not destroy Trump. Trump is untouchable. Nothing will ever destroy Trump's reputation.
FOIA. But the Department of Justice and the FBI are not. We
Except for Trump. Trump is the only one that can hurt his own reputation. And even then, he has to really try.
believe that their failure to process these FOIA requests is illegal, and so we're taking action. Now, Special Counsel Jack Smith is winding down the prosecutions against Donald Trump due to the long-standing Department of Justice policy that prohibits the criminal prosecution of a sitting president. This policy also found root in the Supreme Court's decision that Donald Trump enjoyed broad immunity from prosecution, lest these troublesome prosecutors undermine the executive branch's ability to perform its constitutionally assigned functions. Official functions like pressuring state officials to find you just enough votes to ensure victory. Now, Smith
We're the party of law and order. Law and order, folks. That's what we're all about. We love the cops, we love the law. We're going against the criminal Biden family. But also, nothing can stick to me, and I can do whatever I want, and I need full immunity from the law, because we're the party of law and order.
And then they vote for him, because that makes sense to Americans. That logic lines up without a single bump or flaw in the American mind. Genuine, like, cave people. We're cave people.
requested the federal courts dismiss both cases about Trump without prejudice, which means the case could be refiled if and when Trump is out of office. But there are numerous statute of limitations problems, and Trump may very well just pardon himself. And so Smith will resign from his position before Trump takes office, along with an unknown number of attorneys who worked on the case. And as the Washington Post reported, Trump intends to fire all of the lawyers who worked with Smith, including career attorneys typically protected from political retribution. So there's already an effort underway.
That's right. Trump's going to be ousting everyone in the government who dared to stand against him. There's no, guardrails for Trump for the next 4 years. Not one.
To rewrite history and deny reality. That's why it's critically important to act now to capture the complete record of the federal prosecutions before the records are destroyed, altered, or God knows what the new administration will do with them. And the Freedom of Information Act institutions before the records are destroyed, altered.
Photos show handwritten notes that Trump apparently ripped up and attempted to flush down the toilet. In court, right? So these were notes Trump was taking in court, ripped up and tried to flush down the toilet? Well, wouldn't it just flush? Why would there be photos? I don't know if that's real. Maybe it is, but I don't know if that's real. That seems a little out there, but man, maybe. Trump is pretty retarded.
Or God knows what the new administration will do with them. And the Freedom of Information Act is the legal vehicle that allows us to accomplish this, and it serves all Americans. It is indifferent to political party or ideology, and FOIA is the sunshine that Justice Brandeis spoke of, and we must act now to have any hope of seeing its light. Now, public trust in government is at an all-time low. In fact, Donald Trump made this a cornerstone of his campaign. And Donald Trump made it clear that he expects his new attorney general to bury the entire Smith investigation, and this may...
Something that we gotta recognize is that part of American culture is that you always have to be against who's currently running the country. And I don't know if this is going to follow through with Trump being in office. I think it'll mostly be MAGA that simps for him hard, but that most Americans will go back to the status quo of whoever is currently in charge sucks and is bad and does not care about Americans. And in this case, it'll be true. But this logic follows through regardless of what administration is in power. There's been very few exceptions where the American people's vibes have actually aligned with reality. And it really does feel like a core tenet of American culture is being against the government and against the establishment. And it doesn't matter what the government or establishment is doing. You just have to be against them. And whoever's in power is going to be the one holding the hot potato.
They include rewriting or shredding the historical record, or even calling upon the Republican-controlled Congress or his cronies in the Supreme Court to prevent the American public from exercising their legal right to access these critical documents. There's also a serious concern that once the president's allies get what they want from the records, the DOJ won't see a need to continue preserving them. So that's something that we're trying to protect against as well. And that's the core of our lawsuit. The American people have a right to access these documents, as granted by FOIA, and we believe that the DOJ and FBI are not honoring their legal obligations. If nothing else, our lawsuit puts the sword of Damocles in the form of a contempt of court sanction over anyone who decides to power up the metaphorical shredder after giving the data to Trump's allies. So it's imperative that we get to see all of Jack Smith's records as soon as possible. So on November 22nd, 2024, I filed a lawsuit against the Department of Justice and its components, including the FBI, the Office of Information Policy, the OIP, and the Special Counsel's Office, the SCO, for failing to expedite my FOIA requests. And in fact, you can read my lawsuit by clicking on the link down in the description. Now, obviously, if you're going to sue the federal government, you'd want a great lawyer, and luckily, I think we are. But even if you're not suing the government, you want your own great lawyer, and my law firm, the Eagle Team, can help. If you've got in a car crash, suffered a data breach, or are dealing with almost any injury, we can represent you or help find you the right attorney who can. Because it's so important to talk to a lawyer right away so you can get the...
I will say, how this case goes would be a massive advertisement for the Legal Eagle legal team. You know, like the Eagle Team thing that he's sponsored by, or he sponsors himself with here. I feel like if he wins this, it's like, well, damn, he successfully sued the DOJ and FBI. Maybe his sponsor or his company, his legal firm, is legit.
The best representation and find out what your options are. So just click on the description or call the phone number that's on screen for free consultation with my team. Because you don't just need a legal team, you need the Eagle Team. And now back to the lawsuit that the Eagle Team has filed. Now, our first request was to the OIP. The OIP is the office that handles FOIA requests for the SCO, and the request includes records maintained by the SCO related to the investigation of Donald Trump and emails of the SCO personnel relevant to the investigation. And central to my request for expedited processing was offering many concessions to ease the review burden, such as excluding confidential or previously classified materials. After all, time is of the essence here, and the bureaucratic lift needed to honor FOIA requests like this is not lost on me. Plus, a request for all records with no exceptions would likely be considered overbroad. More on that later. And well, wouldn't you know it, the OIP responded, and they refused to even process the request. Their response letter indicated to me that they hadn't actually read the request and instead treated it as a request for all records, no exceptions. And the fun part is that they went out of their way to illustrate that they have 1.7 million emails to chew through. You guys, please read the request. I went out of my way to make your jobs easier. This isn't that hard. And for my friend...
Man, can you imagine how much worse this shit is going to get under Trump? Like, trying to do anything like this? This is going to be so much harder when Trump takes office. I really don't know how this is going to go. This is going to be fucking wild to follow. I assume everyone's down to follow this situation as it unfolds, because I think it's going to happen while Trump is in office, and it's going to be... That's going to make things interesting.
Friends at the OIP watching this, and for all of you at home, I cannot stress enough how reasonable, everyday, and typical our request actually is. In fact, in 2021, Jason Leopold and BuzzFeed sued the DOJ for all of the Mueller investigation records and then negotiated with them during the litigation to reduce the scope. So this isn't exactly an unprecedented case. And we shouldn't have to sit...
You know, you push for like a higher demand, and then you haggle down. You haggle down.
The council table to decide on a reasonable scope of records, and yet the OIP is forcing us to go down this road. But it gets worse. Our second request was to the FBI, and on November 8th, 2024, we submitted to the FBI a FOIA request for, quote, all information about former President Donald Trump in the Central Record System collected or created as part of the investigation into him for unlawfully retaining national security information and for his role in the January 6th insurrection, for which he is currently in criminal litigation in the Southern District of Florida and the District of Columbia. We then advised for both requests that the agencies could wait until the investigation was over before producing records. And then on November 18th, the FBI responded. And I'm trying not to take this personally, they denied that I should be treated as a representative of the news media while not addressing my request for expedited processing, which is just rude.
They denied his prominence as a news media figure. You're a YouTuber. You're not real news media. All right. All right, then. I'm pretty sure more people are now using the internet for their news than anywhere else, but okay. Sure.
Now, many weeks have passed since my FOIA request and the fair concessions we made in exchange for expedited processing, but we have yet to receive the response we are legally entitled to, and so we're left with no choice but to sue the federal government. Now, our lawsuit originally included 2 counts of constructive denial of expedited processing. This type of claim arises under FOIA when a government agency fails to act on a request for expedited processing within the statutory timeframe or otherwise improperly denies a request for expedited processing. So what is my lawsuit seeking? Well, 3 things. 1, a court order for expedited processing of the FOIA request because time is of the essence. 2, injunctive relief to compel the DOJ to comply with the request. And 3, reimbursement of my costs and attorney's fees. Now, I'm not the only one who wants these records. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton also demanded the records, and Republicans in Congress have even warned the Office of the Special Counsel to preserve them. My guess is that we probably want them for reasons that differ from Ken Paxton, but in the short term, we want the same thing. I think it's really important that these records are released in full so that people can review the entire documents for themselves. And the law states that the...
I agree, but I don't think it'll make any difference, especially now, but it never would have. Like pre-election, if this stuff came out a year before the election, it would have made no difference. Americans are willfully ignorant. Big difference between ignorance and willful ignorance.
Government must provide expedited processing of FOIA requests in cases in which the person requesting the records demonstrates a compelling need. And a person engaged in the publication of news media prima facie demonstrates the required compelling need when there is, quote, urgency to inform the public concerning the actual or alleged federal government activity. Now, countless legacy media news platforms have successfully argued this in court. So what gives here? Does Legal Eagle being one of the biggest and, dare I say, best law-related YouTube channels not count as a news media platform that serves the public interest? Well, the FBI doesn't think so, as they have denied our classification as a representative of the news media, and they are wrong.
This is we've investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing type shit. Like, what? The people you're suing decide whether or not you're considered a valid news media source? That sounds fair.
Obviously, the mission of this channel is to educate people about the laws that govern our everyday lives in a fun and entertaining way, and it's impossible for us to achieve our mission without vigilant and zealous coverage of the news. And in fact, there are over 3 million of you that subscribe to this channel, and the FBI is telling you that you don't count. Now, unfortunately, due to the way that FOIA litigation progresses, we were unable to challenge the FBI's determination on this point at the same time we challenged the constructive denial of the expedited proceeding, but all hope is not lost. We have filed an amended complaint that covers the fee category, the fee waiver, and the actual production of records, while still keeping the expedited processing claims. And at the appropriate time, we'll be asking the court to expedite its consideration of the case as well.
He wants to get this done before the committee that was investigating Trump has been dropped by Trump when he takes office, because otherwise they're not part of the FBI or the DOJ anymore.
Overall, we need to make sure that the DOJ and the FBI don't just hurry up and refuse to release all the records. Now, if this lawsuit is successful, then the American public may finally have the answers to many of the unanswered questions about the Donald Trump investigations. Answers to questions like, what evidence does he have that has not been disclosed? What evidence would prosecutors have used at the Trump trial? How did the Trump immunity decision change their strategy? Did Joe Biden ever communicate anything to Attorney General Merrick Garland or the special counsel? And who were the uncharged co-conspirators? And looking at the Florida case, our success in this lawsuit would mean the public having answers to questions like, who else had access to or moved the records? Was there evidence that Trump kept some classified records in New Jersey or in other locations? What about these surveillance videos and audio recordings? What did Trump's advisors tell the DOJ about his handling of classified info? The American people deserve answers to these questions, and we believe that we are legally entitled to them. So even though we are suing the DOJ over these records, it doesn't mean that we are hostile to Smith's investigation. I don't think we're trying to get something from them that Smith doesn't want to release. We've specifically disclaimed any interest in classified or privileged information, and we're trying to help Smith finish the job he started in the least awful way possible. And we specifically said we'd wait until he was done with his report, so we're not even rushing him. Now, for longtime viewers, you might be wondering what happened with the first suit I filed against the White House. Well, these things take time. But there were actually 2 lawsuits. The first was about the handling of John Bolton's expose, and I haven't talked about this publicly yet because I didn't want to prejudice the lawsuit itself, but we've received a significant number of substantive responses from the FBI, the DOD, and the CIA, including records showing that the CIA was never given any parts of the book to review. And we're in the middle of an appeal of the decision regarding the National Security Council. Now, we always knew that that part was going to be an uphill battle, but one of the points of this lawsuit was to change...
Dude, Legal Eagle is such a neat figure to exist. You know, like, YouTube's brought about some pretty awful people into prominence and success. And that prominence and success has allowed them to gain levels of power over us and our lives that are pretty grim. But there's also been some pretty awesome people who, thanks to YouTube and the internet, are able to gain a platform and do things like this. It's pretty awesome.
The case law saying that the NSC is entirely exempt from FOIA, especially under these circumstances. And we will continue to pursue the appeal to make that change. Now, the second lawsuit was a suit that I filed about how Trump fired a bunch of inspectors general who found corruption. Now, we've gotten a ton of records about allegations of OIG misconduct, yet very few about the ones that Trump pushed out for alleged misconduct. And it's pretty clear from these records that he pushed out inspectors general who didn't do anything wrong and didn't push out inspectors general who did. Something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, he's overtly and openly corrupt. It's going to be all about building a government that will not stop him from doing what he wants to do, and he's going to create a lineup of scapegoats to blame as the country starts to fall apart in the coming years, as it inevitably will.
In mind next time he pushes out an inspector general. And I already have a quick update. The day we filed our amended complaint, the FBI miraculously granted us expedited processing. They like to play these little litigation games. So that's a win for the good guys, and we're one step closer to getting the records. And I'm sure it's because the government is afraid of us. Now, I couldn't have done any of this without the help of my co-counsel, Kel McClanahan, who's one of the preeminent lawyers in national security law. He runs the firm the National Security Counselors, which promotes the ideas that the public needs to be as informed as possible, and that people entangled in legal matters in this field should have reasonable access to knowledgeable legal assistance regardless of income. I suspect that in the coming years, there's going to be a lot of shady dealings that need to be exposed, and there's going to be a lot of government employees and contractors who are going to need help in dealing with whistleblowing and security clearance issues. And Kel and his team are on the job. They operate in large part from donations, especially their pro bono work, and if you'd like to...
This is dope. Okay, here, I'm going to drop this, the link into chat in a second when he brings it up.
Donate to further their mission, they would greatly appreciate it. I already have, and I look forward to working with them in the future. You can check out their website and donate by clicking on the link that's on screen right now or down below, and either way, you can always follow...
Hell yeah. Here, let me drop this in chat really fast. You guys can support... Wait, that is the Discord link. I don't know why it didn't copy. Y'all can support the effort to disseminate these important documents and inform the American people, if they decide to. National Security Counselors. Go back them up. They sound cool. They sound super cool. Regardless, though, this is fucking wild, man. Legal Eagle is suing the FBI and DOJ, and it's not even the first time he's sued the government. Man, once again, like I said, How incredible is it that the internet has, like, allowed someone like this to have a large platform and do these kinds of things? Politics is getting crazy. I'm not gonna lie, it really is. Man, it really sucks that Donald Trump really lived up to his name, Teflon Don. It really does. I thought that there might be something that gets him before the coming election, or before the election came, and I was wrong. Trump managed to delay everything, and everyone was so afraid of appearing exactly how the right already saw them, regardless of their actions, that they continuously treated Trump with kid gloves, as he claimed he was being oppressed and treated harsher than he should be, and people bought his narrative, and all the while Donald Trump saw no justice. You never ever win with people like this by playing fairly or by the rules. You never do. They will just flip the board and wipe the game out once they start to lose. If you start to win fair and square, they'll just cheat. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this segment, if you thought it was good, if you thought it was entertaining, educational, or enjoyable, then please consider dropping a like. Every single thumbs up, whether it's on my live streams or my videos when they go up on their own after the fact, does a lot to boost my channel in the algorithm. It's actually the most helpful way to boost the channel in the algorithm. And if you haven't done so already, please consider it. It really does help a lot. It's totally free, and it means a lot. And of course, subscribe and ring the bell icon if you haven't already, so that YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload new videos in the channel. And consider following my social medias, linked down below in the description as well, including my Blue Sky and my fan Discord, which is the main hub of my community and fan base. You definitely want to be in there. And perhaps even consider supporting me financially through my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me through Twitch, YouTube, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, buying merch to the Streamlabs link down below, or perhaps, maybe, just saying a nice thing in chat. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you so much for watching, as always, and have a good one.